The Burning Babe is a poem written by Robert Southwell in 1595 in the midst of his long years of torture and persecution. Southwell was a Jesuit priest living in Protestant England. The poem is 16 lines of rhyming couplets written in iambic heptameter. And the Elizabethan playwright Ben Jonson said of the poem that if he had written it, he would have been glad to have destroyed all of his own best poems. The ghost of the Burning Babe is quite literally the ghost of the Christ child. To be clear, it is not the ghost of Christ, or as in the Holy Ghost. It is the ghost of the infant of Bethlehem. This infant, though Christ, is not the exact child from the Nativity, as he is burning with flame and is able to fly, described as a pretty babe all burning bright did in the air appear, who scorched with excessive heat. This figure is nearly identical to the German Christkind figure, another androgynous, on fire lighted child who is meant to represent Jesus Christ. Both figures are the same in appearance and in purpose. Each is a messenger of truth who their respective authors or followers feel the world has either forgotten or ignores. The Christkind, for example, was created in North Germany post the Protestant Reformation as a response to St. Nicholas. The Christkind was to be a more Protestant version of Christmas, whereas St. Nicholas was a more Catholic version. The followers of Martin Luther felt the world had become more interested in the motions of Catholicism and in doing so had misplaced the gospel. Southwell seemed to feel the same, except from an English Jesuit Catholic perspective. His poem, The Burning Babe, illustrates the incredibly violent religious climate that England was undergoing through the mid-1500s and would continue into the next century, eventually leading to Christmas being banned and the English Republic during the 1600s. Stephen Greenblatt writes in the Norton Anthology of English Literature that Southwell was a Jesuit educated in France and Rome who came back to England as an undercover priest to illegally minister to other hidden Catholics. He was executed in 1595 at age 33. His poem about Christmas is a lamentation of what happens to the belief within the religious split. The titular character at the end of the first stanza claims that the world has forgotten him, saying, quote, "Yet none approach to warm their hearts or feel the fire but I," end quote. It isn't until the last line of the poem that the protagonist, who's been conversing with this burning child, says, quote, "Straight I call it unto mind that it was Christmas Day." In this world that required Southwell to hide he and his congregation's belief for fear of death would certainly seem as if Christ had been forgotten. In Southwell's mind, it would take the ghost of a suffering Christ child to appear and remind England of the holy day they had forsaken. The Burning Babe by Robert Southwell. As I in hoary winter's night stood shivering in the snow, surprised I was with sudden heat, which made my heart to glow, and lifting up a fearful eye to view what fire was near, a pretty babe all burning bright did in the air appear, who scorched with excessive heat through frozen tears that shed, as though his flood should quench his flames with which his tears were fed. Alas, quoth he, unduly born in fiery heats I fry, yet none approach to warm their heart, nor feel the fire but I. My faultless breast the furnace is, the fuel wounding thorns. Love is the fire, and sighs the smoke, the ashes shame and scorn. The fuel justice lay upon, and mercy blows the coals. The metal in this furnace wrought have men's defiled souls. For which as now on fire I am, to work them to their good, so well I melt into a bath, and wash them in my blood. With this he vanished out of sight, and swiftly shrunk away, and straight I call it unto mind that it was Christmas Day.